Hi, I'm Nina Lindia. I'm a breast cancer survivor and I'm on the board of Breast Cancer Alliance. We spend a lot of time talking to and about people like me, breast cancer survivors, but less about their caregivers. When I was diagnosed 6 years ago, my support system was vast and reliable, a kind of ecosystem that propped me up from diagnosis through treatment and beyond. This kind of support is by no means a given, but it should be because it can have a tremendous impact on the breast cancer survivor in your life. Let's talk some numbers. We know 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. That's pretty scary, but it also means that 7 in 8 women won't be. Statistically, you have a much better chance of becoming part of a support system for someone than you do of being diagnosed with the disease yourself. Today, we're here to talk about the best possible way that you can provide support. Let me introduce you to 2 women who were such an important part of my squad. My mother, Mary Ann Kalo, and my best friend, Megan Gould. We're going to get into a candid conversation about the softer science of survivorship and how you can best bolster the breast cancer survivor in your life, because you guys did a tremendous job for which I'm so grateful. I had a baseline mammogram at the age of 35 after my physician felt nothing, and ended up being diagnosed with triple negative stage 2 breast cancer. This required a double mastectomy, chemo, the kind where your hair falls out, 25 rounds of radiation, and 3 reconstructive surgeries. I was worried about you. I knew you were worried about me, and we had reason to be. Were we just faking it till we made it? Or did you all believe me and in me the whole time?
I remember the day that you called me to tell me about the diagnosis. And somehow in that first conversation over the phone, you said, if I'm honest, this is probably the only way I could get implants without my mother judging me.
It's true.
And we started hysterically laughing. But that was the initial conversation, and I think that, it's the truth. And I think that because that was the place that you chose to go on that journey from, as the people in your support system, it was easy to kind of get on board.
Your attitude, the way you talked about this, was so helpful to me as a person who knew that I was going to have a role to play here. I never once felt like this is a train wreck. I'm not going to be able to help here. It was the opposite. I felt like I know what I'm going to do, or I'll figure out what I can do to help you, but you've already figured out how to help yourself.
I felt like my role was to make you not feel sick. Like you had a place for that. And when we got together, it was about being Nina. And it wasn't about treatment and wigs and all the other stuff. I mean, we made shopping for wigs like an adventure in New York City, and we had fun. I feel like that was kind of my role.
Mm-hmm. And I sought you out for that role. And what you've never heard from me is that that's the reason you didn't come to chemo.
Yeah.
And some of our other friends did. Because I need my hype woman to have her narrative straight. My very first Soul Cycle ride was with you. It was indeed the hardest thing I'd ever done. You posted, or rather sent a picture to our group of college girlfriends of us after one of our rides. And you said, "Here with my hero, just killed 45." Meaning Soul Cycle classes are 45 minutes long. Sending that out to our group of friends, both of us smiling, looking full of health, became my proof of life. You also texted me every Monday before the bikes went on, saying, "Book your bike for tomorrow." So I had a double responsibility to show up. And every time we went, it was more proof of my life, my ability, bald as an egg in that back row, watching you in the front row and thinking we were doing it together. We were doing this hard thing together at a time when my body was at its lowest. Do you have a memory of that being on purpose?
But I never had any doubt that you were capable of doing it. I was just really psyched that you were going to get involved. Mm-hmm. I started bawling, because I was like, I cannot believe she is doing this. And then you turned to me and you said, "Get your blank together, Murphy."
Stop crying.
And I did. But that to me was a very moving moment because, and I guess now that we're talking about it, which we never really did, but I feel like we both felt like we're doing this And we didn't really need to talk about it.
As long as you thought I was capable of doing this new hard thing, maybe I really was going to be okay. Maybe it wasn't delusion. And that kind of hard thing, I would recommend every survivor find, and every best friend of that survivor help them do, because it was tremendously empowering and did indeed become my proof of life. Gave me a Soul Cycle headband that was thinner, as one of when I still had hair, when I was in treatment, but my hair hadn't totally fallen out. And then you just sort of systematically gave me bigger ones, because you knew I was not comfortable in a wig working out. And I wanted to just cover up the balding as much as possible without being hot. And I recall going, gosh, does she know? Can we be involved in this sort of symbiotic, conversation we don't even know we're having? But that was huge for me, because it was another way of you saying, no one's looking at you. No one's looking at your head. We're doing this thing. And that was huge for me. And I don't know if you remember.
I absolutely do remember. And I don't know that I did it consciously. And I think when I gave them to you, I would say, oh, they came out with a new headband.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they did get bigger.
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with you when you were wearing a headband and you took it off and you said, I don't look sick. And I said, Nina, you don't look sick. You look bald. And there's a difference in those two things.
Yeah.
Loved hearing the two of you talk about this, because my memory of it is that I never really doubted that you would get through it. I mean, to ask if you ever have emotion about it, sure, you have your moment. I tend to have those moments in private where you completely lose it. It's somebody you love. It's not going to happen. Your child. Of course, you have those moments where you think, no, this cannot be happening. You get through them and you say to yourself, all right, well, so there are things that I know she has. She has a rock solid husband and a great group of friends. And I know they have her back. I know they will get her through this in ways that I could never imagine were important. And what you just described is one of those ways. What I thought about was, what I can do is I can make sure that I can take care of your kids. Because as a mother with an illness, that's immediately where you go. Well, first place you go is dark. Will I be here for my kids? And the second place you go is, this is a long road. How do I make it so that it isn't hard for them, or it isn't traumatic for them. Mm-hmm. So I felt that the role I could play was to be there whenever you needed to focus on yourself, to take care of your kids, to focus on them, to be with them, to have fun with them.
The fact that you were there, if I broke down, I could leave and there was someone to tag in. My husband very much was commuting to a full-time job. You really taught me that once we become, we never stop being mother. Mm-hmm. And a big part of, I don't like to give cancer a life. It causes death and it has no mind. It's a proliferating disease. It's a cluster of bad cells. But I blamed cancer for what I think was a huge moment in your career. You were about to spend a semester teaching your discipline of art history in the city of Florence, which is perhaps the best city in the world to teach. And it was going to be, in my view, your swan song. It was your last semester of active teaching. And I said, you gotta go. I'm showing you. I'm gonna be okay. I'm here. We just have to get the reconstruction and radiation. You gotta go. And you said you would never leave your child and go to a different country while she was sick. And please don't expect me to do that, ever. And I immediately understood it, because it was impressed upon me as a mother, not as a survivor. And that was one of our first sort of mother-to-mother moments that I'll never forget.
And you should never feel bad about that. You should never feel bad that I didn't go. It wouldn't have been my first rodeo teaching in Florence. It was great. It was a way to end my career and not have to be on campus. But I don't regret it for a minute. What I did with you and your family during those couple of years is infinitely more important to me than anything I might have done there. So I know you felt bad about that, and it haunted you, I think, a little bit. But it needn't, because I never gave it a second thought.
I hope you'll never need a squad to get you through a breast cancer diagnosis. But I'm so grateful to mine and glad that you got to meet them today. Shout out to Breast Cancer Alliance, now in its 25th year of amazing fundraising in the breast cancer space. In its honor, we're creating a hashtag mention your mammogram. Every time one of my friends tells me she got her mammogram because my experience reminded her to, I am filled with inspiration to keep this going. We'll keep it up if you will.